Hi, I'm Giles.
And I'm Mary.
And we're part of Assemble, which is an art and architecture collective working at a range of different scales. So in Assemble, we have a lot of experience delivering all kinds of creative workspace in places around the world. So on the left, we can see a fashion school that we made in New Orleans, and on the right, a locally built workspace that we made in the south of France for a materials research laboratory. But we also have a number of sites in London where we have been both the designer and the provider of the workspace. And so, we have a lot of knowledge that we can bring to the Mayday Saxonvale project of workspace and how to provide it and how to make good places for creative, interesting, rich work. So Mayday Saxonvale asked us to look at the Nott store, which is one of the two existing buildings left on the site. It's a really extraordinary structure with these space frame skylights that both hold up the roof and allow light into the space. It's quite kind of roughly made, and so there's going to be a lot of work required to kind of bring it into service, but it has a really extraordinary character as a set of spaces. These are some drawings which describe the current situation in the building. So we actually have kind of two proposals here that we're going to talk about today. So Mary's going to introduce the first phase of the project, which is going to happen during the design and the construction phases of the overall Mayday Saxonvale project, where we kind of proposed a way that we might intersect with that. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about what the Nott store will look like in the long term once that kind of design and construction project has completed.
Yeah, so first of all, we're proposing a way of making materials on site and with local waste streams that can contribute to a construction project that shares the ethics of the wider development project. So this is to be more locally rooted and more holistic than more traditional development processes that normally rely on really unsustainable methods of production, like materials traveling really long distances across the world. So this phase is also split into different phases. Phase one, which would be for research and development into materials that happens on site. We would look to build a research lab to facilitate on-site residencies with ourselves and collaborators working with samples of potential waste materials and carrying out tests to develop new materials from these waste streams. Being present on the site to be able to build local working relationships and create a regional network of supply. But also part of this research would be an investigation into waste streams such as local demolition sites and sawmills, for example. The research lab would allow us to connect with people to build skills in material reuse and, for example, start a training program to ensure that the local labour is part of the development process for environmentally friendly construction. And then the second phase is for this project to progress beyond just a research phase, which would be very initial ideas, but we'd then need to be able to trial production at a larger scale. So this would be looking to build a facility on the site that would further develop some of the reuse processes explored in the initial R&D. This would be a process of making large-scale prototypes to test mass production and iron out any kinks in the process. And this could also be an opportunity to scale up the training program. And then the third stage would be really the construction of a project that can be more permanently on the site. And this would come out of the findings and processes and methodologies developed in the first two phases. So in a way, this could go in many different directions, but really relying on the fact that this is a process-led project. But yeah, I guess our understanding of what a successful construction project would be one in which it offers meaningful training, education, and methodologies for local industry and collaborators to contribute to environmental savings for the overall development, which are grounded in local materials and supplies, and also something that contributes to better the community involvement in the whole process. Yeah.
So that's the kind of project that we'd be looking to undertake during the design and construction process of the whole Mayday Saxonvale site. But I guess what we're going to show over these next few slides is what the Nott store might look like once the whole site and the whole proposal is up and running, and how it might feel as you come visit this area of Frome, on a kind of sunny Saturday. So at one end, at the north end of the building, we're proposing the circular economy hub, and that's being spoken about elsewhere in the presentation, but we kind of imagine this space as quite a kind of rough and ready kind of marketplace of different traders and activities, different businesses who are intersecting with the circular economy across Frome, have space of some kind in this, and then everyday people coming in and interacting with that in this kind of marketplace. So it might be quite a large space at the end of the building, which facilitates all those kinds of activities. And then the main portion of the building is taken up by a number of good size light industrial units that can facilitate the kinds of businesses that might not otherwise be able to find much space in Frome. So people to kind of make things and fabricate things, or develop projects that maybe in some ways might intersect with the circular economy hub, or with some of the material research that we'd been engaged with in the material investigations part of the presentation. But all of these businesses would have these kind of rich opportunities for local employment, intersecting with local material streams, and they'd also open out onto this fantastic pedestrian thoroughfare that's between the Nott store and the adjacent workspace. So I think that'd be a really fantastic set of spaces. And then at the south end of the building is the proposed area for the community kitchen. Again, this is being spoken about elsewhere in the presentation, so I won't go into detail about it, but insofar as this is a great opportunity for the building to kind of open up and be a bit more public, to let people in. The current proposal is that part of the building here is demolished, leaving just the roof structure that might make space for an open marketplace or courtyard for both maybe the community kitchen to open out onto, or for a small market to happen on the weekends. And in a way, all of these different activities in the building are kind of continuous. They're all different ways of kind of making things and allowing people to kind of share in that making process, and see and participate in things being made in Frome, which would be really fantastic. I guess in thinking about how this building's organised, we've been looking a lot at this kind of evergreen workspace typology of the railway arch unit, which is both very simple and robust. It doesn't have internal circulations really. You circulate along the front of the building, much as we're showing people doing in our building, and then each unit has its own front door, and sometimes its own back door, and that can be great for if a business wants to have a consumer facing space out the front, and but yet also have a kind of messy, dirty back for deliveries and these kinds of things. It feels like a really useful idea about how you might organize these spaces that feels very very tangible, and one which I think will work really well for this building. And then this is a kind of a reference that we go to a lot, which is a really great workspace project in Bordeaux, which again has a kind of similar method of organisation. These big openings on the front of a long industrial unit that then open out onto these quite rough and ready internal spaces that provide a variety of different uses. In some cases, some of the spaces in here are galleries, some are canteens, and then some of them are artist fabrication spaces. And that variety is enabled partly by the differentiation of the different units. You can kind of each have them having their own space and own access. So that's all we're going to say about the Nott store. So thank you very much for listening to us, and goodbye.
Bye.